Hello everyone, welcome back to Stock Market Meridian. Today is 11th August 2026 and you're watching today's pre-market report. Let's begin with global markets. Starting with the US markets, all the major indices closed in the negative zone and at present US index futures are also trading in the negative zone. Moving to the European markets, only the FTSE 100 index closed in the negative zone while the remaining two major indices closed in the green. Now looking at the Asian markets, the Japan markets were closed today, while the markets in China and South Korea opened with a gap down. So overall, global markets are indicating a negative sentiment for today's session. Now let's move to commodities. US WTI crude oil is currently trading around $81 to $83 per barrel, while Brent crude oil is trading near $89 to $91 per barrel. Yesterday, Indian crude oil futures ended with nearly 5% gains, while natural gas futures also closed around 4.2% higher. Moving to the precious metals segment, Indian gold futures closed with nearly 0.8% gains, while international gold futures are also currently trading in the positive zone. Meanwhile, Indian silver futures ended with around 2.3% gains, while international silver futures are currently trading below that level. So, commodities remain an important factor to watch, especially crude oil, which continues to trade at elevated levels. Now let's check the GIFT Nifty. Yesterday, GIFT Nifty closed around the 24,618 level, and today it opened at nearly the same level. So overall, GIFT Nifty is indicating a muted start or possibly a slight gap up opening for our Indian markets. Now, let's check the ADR data. Yesterday, only Infosys ADR closed in the green. Meanwhile, the remaining ADRs, including Reliance Industries, ICICI Bank, Dr. Reddy's Laboratories, HDFC Bank, and Wipro closed in the negative zone. So overall, the ADR setup is looking slightly negative for today's market. Now, moving to the FII and DII data. Yesterday, FIIs were net buyers of 1,944 crores, while DIIs were net sellers of 1,290 crores. So we can see a clear shift here. FIIs turned into strong buyers, while DIIs moved towards profit booking. This data will be important to watch, especially if the trend continues in today's session. Now let's check the economic calendar. Yesterday, there were no major economic updates scheduled, but today we have a few important events to watch. The Japan markets will remain closed on account of a government holiday. Meanwhile, Australia's central bank interest rate decision will be released, and from the United States, existing home sales data for July will be released. Looking ahead to tomorrow, Germany, India, and the United States will release their CPI inflation data. Along with that, US crude oil inventories data will also be released. So tomorrow could be an important day from a global macroeconomic perspective. Now, let's move to the geopolitical updates. As of now, there are still no major developments regarding peace talks between the United States and Iran. However, yesterday, President Donald Trump made several strong statements regarding future negotiations with Iran. Trump responded to reports that Iranian representatives were seeking compensation for damages caused during the 5-month military conflict. He described the proposal as an interesting idea while instructing US negotiators to include strong American counter demands in any future negotiations. Trump also demanded compensation related to victims of roadside bomb attacks, past conflicts associated with General Qasem Soleimani, the families of sailors killed in the USS Cole bombing, and other casualties. He also spoke about compensation for families of protesters killed in Iran over the past several decades, as well as those killed during the recent conflict. Along with these compensation demands, Trump made strong statements regarding the Strait of Hormuz and the US military presence in the region. He claimed that the United States has control over the Strait of Hormuz and that the US Navy has maintained an effective blockade restricting Iranian-linked traffic. Trump also stated that US forces had mineswept the strait to secure maritime passage. Overall, these statements indicate that despite the absence of major peace talk developments, geopolitical tensions between the US and Iran remain an important factor for global markets. And especially for Indian markets, investors will continue to closely watch crude oil prices, the Strait of Hormuz, and any further developments between the two countries. Now let's move to the quarterly results announced after Friday's market close. First, let's talk about Gland Pharma. On a quarterly basis, EBITDA, net profit, and net profit margins declined. However, the remaining key earnings parameters improved strongly. Overall, Gland Pharma reported a good set of quarterly results. Next, we we have Zee Entertainment, which posted a mixed set of results. Revenue improved on a year-on-year basis but declined on a quarter-on-quarter basis. Meanwhile, EBITDA, net profit and margins showed the opposite trend. They improved sequentially but declined on a yearly basis. Overall, the results were disappointing. Next is Bosch. Net profit and net profit margins declined strongly on a year-on-year basis. However, the remaining key parameters improved on both yearly and quarterly basis. Still, considering the overall performance, the results were somewhat disappointing. Next, we have KEC International, which posted a very weak set of quarterly results. Revenue showed only a negligible improvement on a yearly basis. However, the remaining key earnings parameters declined on both yearly and quarterly basis. Overall, KEC International's results were weak. Next, let's look at Vodafone Idea. Here, there is an important point investors need to understand. Last quarter, Vodafone Idea reported a net profit of 51,970 crore rupees. However, this was mainly because of a one-time exceptional gain of 58,116 crore rupees arising from the reduction or discounting of its deferred AGR payment obligations. So, that previous quarter's profit should not be compared directly with normal operational performance. Excluding that exceptional impact, the loss decreased on a yearly basis. At the same time, EBITDA and revenue improved on both yearly and quarterly basis. Overall, Vodafone Idea's operational results were good. And finally, we have Dilip Buildcon. All major earnings parameters improved on a quarter-on-quarter basis, but declined on a year-on-year basis. However, the margin scenario moved in the opposite direction. Overall, Dilip Buildcon reported a weak set of results. And that's all for today's pre-market report. Now, I want to know from you, which company are you tracking the most from today's updates? And also, let me know in the comment section which company's results you would like me to cover in today's post-market report. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to Stock Market Meridian. And I'll see you again this evening with today's post-market report. Thank you for watching. Signing off, Jai Hind.